pain in your gut or in your heart, thinking about what it would be like to be a family, working every hour you can find, trying to play by the rules, loving your children, and knowing your child's in a school that's betraying them. And it gets harder for us to be thoughtfully engaged college graduates when fewer of us have experiences and relationships out of our comfort zone, beyond what we knew growing up. And I would say this is the main reason I was happy to leave the practice of law. Not like it was a big sacrifice. I didn't enjoy it anyway. But to go into higher education when literally just in the last 10 years, the entire system across the country has revolutionized itself. I don't think that's overly dramatic to say. You can't talk to an administrator at any university I know of, even two-year schools, anywhere in the nation, who won't seriously look you in the eyes and tell you it has become very important to provide increasing platforms for young people to participate in community efforts as part of the curriculum, not just for sororities or fraternities on a Wednesday afternoon, but as part of coursework, as part of what it means to graduate with a degree in higher education. One thing I make clear that college students come away with, because most of college students in Alabama are from average income families, which are less than average income nationally, and most of them wouldn't think of themselves as elite. And I remind them that by halfway through their junior year, they're better educated than 81% of the state. They are the definition of elite. Everyone in this room is in the uppermost small percentage of the most educated elite citizens of the state. And I suggest that with that and the opportunities that affords us come extra obligations to acknowledge the reality, no matter how optimistic we are about progress, and you won't meet anyone more optimistic than me. The brutal reality is, for children younger than you all in this room that are alive today, the majority of them living in Alabama won't go to college. I mean, that hurts me to say. Now, before I leave here and you all think that was the most depressing, miserable talk I've ever, let me tell you why I'm optimistic. And this is concrete. I'm not talking about a hopeful, naive hope for the future. Your generation, and those a little younger than you, have literally transformed the definition of obligation. In terms of what it means to be 18 and 19 and 26 and 28, statistically speaking, this young generation has become the most charitable, voluntaristic, committed generation we've ever produced. Literally by far. At the college level and post-college, the business model of impact, Sarah Louise Smith. 300 applications we had this year for positions that pay $1,000 a month. Gap year. I never heard that term when I was coming out of college. An increasingly popular idea among college students around the nation who want to put their professional ambitions on hold for a year or two and just find somewhere where they can make the biggest difference possible. Talk about a business model. The more training that's required for our staff at Impact, the less we pay them, the more responsibility we give them, and the more difficult the task, the more appealing it is to the best and brightest college seniors around America. That's a hard recipe to screw up as a CEO, especially if you have Sarah Louise running the show. 300 applications, we've hired 24 for next year. The average GPA is over a 3.8. Sometimes people say, well, do you think they sort of feel bad for Alabama and they want to come down and help us out in this? No. There are children that need vision care in every community around the country. Alabama happens to be the only place that provides comprehensive high-tech vision care for poor children anywhere in the country. There's not even a close second. 32,000 children this year screened by Sarah Louise and this staff with the assistance of college students. 12% of them have a serious eye problem. They've all received free follow-up care, including 6 children with cataracts in one eye, which will blind you permanently in 2 years. We've got 19-year-olds in Tuscaloosa setting their alarm for 6:30 in the morning, taking a $4,000 camera to a daycare down a dirt road in Greene County that you can't find on MapQuest, setting that thing up in the living room to take pictures of 6 children's eyes because these 19-year-olds believe in their gut those children deserve medical care too, and no one else around is giving it to them. What a fascinating story that this thing entirely is delivered by people under the age of 22. Last thing I would say is this. That's one example of a generational transformation and obligation. And the most fascinating part about your generation, statistically speaking, is it's far more interested in concrete, practical problem solving and creatively using talent and insight to solve problems aside of conventional wisdom. Who cares how it's been done in the past? Is pre-K for poor 4-year-olds with teachers in the classroom, is that a Republican idea or a Democratic idea? That's a stupid question. I have no idea. I'll tell you there are a generation of Republican and Democratic governors who have banked their career on it. Is vision care for children, is that Republican? It's a stupid, narrow-minded conversation. It's thoughtful, I believe it's moral, and it makes communities better. The last thing I would say is this. One of the biggest poisons of a disconnected electorate, that's sort of a sterile way to say it, of people not staying in touch with other people unlike themselves in a region, is not just a lack of people like those in this room who commit to volunteer and learn about needs and help address them, but also the reverse. The vast majority of people that move into Shelby County, they've been polled, like suburbanites around the country. They move to the suburbs for education, number one, number two, safety. But education's number one everywhere in the country when you poll suburban families. I don't think it would be a stretch for me to suggest to you all that the majority of people moving into the suburbs around this area, 1,200 children and their families out of Birmingham, all of them would tell you it's because of the schools. If I were standing at a Walmart in Chelsea, hopefully we can all agree that Chelsea is the definition of a fast-growing suburban area. In fact, it was a field 10 years ago. If I were standing in a Walmart and I stopped people to ask them a question, and I had a woman agree to stop, I said, let me read you a paragraph. You tell me if this paragraph is true or false. Okay, 2 schools. E.D. Nixon Elementary School. Let's see, this is what you would call an inner-city school. Very poor neighborhood in the center of Montgomery. Let's see how poor. 99% of the kids, federally subsidized lunch program kids. Poor area. Let's see about the family situation. Okay, 83% single-parent households. Challenging community. 4 years ago, 4th grade reading scores, 14th percentile. That sucks. In fact, it was so bad the parents get sent home a letter that gives them the right to move their kid. Something else happened 4 years ago. A new principal was hired. Different kind of woman. Within a year, 22 of the 36 teachers in that building had left. Hard to work for this woman if you don't believe her mission. And her mission being, from every fiber of her being, that all children can learn. There will be no excuses in the building. If you don't believe that, get out of my building. 4 years later. So I'm reading this to someone. Okay, 4 years later, last year, A+. You all know about A+. A+ puts on their website, national designation of this school. It's called a Torchbearer School. Wow, that's impressive. High poverty, yet high performing school. 4th grade reading levels, 88th percentile. 2 points higher than the children in Prattville Elementary School. Next school, Wilkerson. That's a Birmingham school. Okay, statistically, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. Yep, 98% federally subsidized lunch program kids, 70% single-parent households. 4 points higher in 4th grade reading than Chelsea Middle School. True or false? What does that woman tell me in the Walmart in Chelsea? I assure you she tells me that's false. The vast majority of Alabama doesn't believe that story, doesn't know that story. That's poisonous. That story is the dead-on truth. It's not just the schools that are funded by the Gates Foundation or just charter schools, although a lot of successes around the country have been charter schools. There's a community school in Birmingham named Wilkerson that's blowing the roof off the building. Has higher test scores than most of the middle schools in Shelby County. Part of our obligation as young professionals, I say our, I know I'm older than you. Humor me. As young professionals is to help be a voice not just for what needs to be done, but for what's already being done well. Because as Bill Gates says, if you acknowledge the reality of a beautifully successful school in a very poor area, the whole conversation changes. You can never have the same conversation again. Get out of your mind that it can't be done. There's too much bureaucracy. The parents need to be, of course the parents need to do homework more with their kids. That still doesn't let us off the hook. That still doesn't mean public education can't have a transformative impact on any child. That's what our future is. Can I say one thing in 30 seconds? Can I have 30 seconds? Sure. This is a random idea I had driving over here. Some of you know about Teach for America. I consider this generation the Teach for America generation. It'll be, when the numbers finish this year, over 60,000 college seniors apply for Teach for America. You say, well, that's partly because of the recession. Maybe about 10,000 of them. It was over 40,000 before. It's harder to get into now than it is to get into Harvard. 1/4 of Yale University 2 years ago applied for Teach for America. Did you all know that? I don't mean 1/4 of the education students. 1/4 of the university raised their hand and said, send me to one of the most malfunctioning schools in America. Let me try to make a difference. Every year, an increasing percentage of the second-year teachers in Teach for America choose to not go to law school or business school or anything else and stay in education. And most of them are doing it because there are new, creative, innovative models of education, usually charter schools, that are drawing the best and brightest Americans into this transformative career. Do you all realize Teach for America is coming to Birmingham this fall by 1 vote? It was almost defeated by this ridiculous school board criticizing the thing. No one's suggesting Teach for America is the end-all be-all. It doesn't save the school system. It will bring 20 to 30 to 35 of the most talented 22 and 23-year-olds in America who are committed to teaching, even if it's 80 hours a week, and most of them will work 80 hours a week. One thought I have, since this is the first year Teach for America will be in this region, they won't be much different than your age. They're the best and brightest kids from around the country coming here. I hear from my students as they graduate each year and go to Teach for America, I get fundraising letters. They need help with calculators. They often start extracurricular activities. We have Teach for America teachers right now in the Black Belt who are starting a debate team similar to Speak First. One thought for this organization, being the most prolific Rotaract club literally in the world, is to think through a partnership with those 20 or 30 young, talented Americans who are coming to Birmingham to work their butts off in these schools for 2 years. And they're going to have ideas of extracurricular activities. They're going to need support. It may be a beautiful partnership to sort of establish now, even if it takes a year, to think through the alliance between this club and this group and these incredible young people, some of whom are from Alabama, who are going to commit themselves to this school system. Thank you all for letting me come. I appreciate your attention.
Thank you, Stephen. Wow, I hope everyone is invigorated and as excited as I am. I think we've got a few times. I don't want to steal the time we have. We've probably got 5 minutes for Q&A. Anybody have questions, thoughts, comments for Stephen Lockgreen?